Good evening, and welcome to E.N.T Media News, your trusted source for breaking developments across Africa and global affairs. Tonight, all eyes are on Brussels as members of the European Parliament convene for a high-level exchange on Uganda's 2026 general elections. The session, held at the European Parliament headquarters, is set to examine the conduct of the elections and the political climate that has followed. With Uganda's post-election environment drawing international attention, this meeting signals growing European interest in developments in Kampala. Most notably, opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi, widely known as Bobi Wine, is expected to address EU lawmakers remotely, presenting his perspective on the election process and the situation inside Uganda. Now, let's take you directly inside the session and hear what is being discussed.
For decades, multilateralism embodied in the United Nations has helped lift millions of people out of poverty, saved countless lives. It has delivered that no country could ever have achieved on its own, and we don't say that enough. 8 years on from the founding of the United Nations, multilateralism as a force for good, us safer, freer, and better off. In a more uncertain world, we need to double down on our commitment that cooperation and dialogue being and having the courage to act together even when it's hard. The European Parliament was built on the belief that cooperation is our greatest house. You will find determined to keep moving forward together. I give you the floor.
President Metsola, dear Roberta, esteemed members of the European Parliament, colleagues and friends. Underlined in this beautiful opening ceremony in Milano that peace is more than the absence, where they are showcasing right now and all the athletes that we can achieve and what we can achieve when we come together, yet fairly, on the same playing field. I wish we were gathered to celebrate that spirit of international solidarity. These are trying times. When President Metsola invited chaotic. I warned of a make or break moment for our multilateral system. Today, only 40 days into the international order is not only under pressure, it is under attack. And we face a conflict waged not even under the open defiance of it. At precisely the moment when we most need cooperation, most need the United Nations, or even outright attacking it. Which people of this region remember all too well. Rules and standards drawn from these experiences dismissed. History teaches us that large systems rarely collapse in one dramatic moment. They erode slowly, commitment by commitment, with those who should defend them. 4 years ago, European as Germany's foreign minister to the UN General as the President of the General Assembly of the United Nations to Europe, calling for Europe to stand up for the United Nations. Because it needs Africa, it needs the Americas, it needs Asia and the Pacific, it needs Europe, it needs you. And defend and champion the Charter and the international. First and foremost, dear colleagues, it needs us, it needs you, the EU, to defend the truth. As we are living in a world, in speeches, we hear it in the General Assembly. Mis- and disinformation as an instrument of power politics. And we have also learned the hard way that the too often is not a success strategy. As Nobel Prize laureate Maria Ressa put it, I quote, "Without facts, you can't have no rule of law, no democracy." And we can't. But we also saw recently with Greenland that if one stands up for the truth firmly, immediately, and collectively, it pays off. Not go along to get along in the hope that it will avoid a tariff. Defending the truth means countering hate speech and misinformation. And structures. And speaking here as a woman, defending the truth means realizing that if 95 images and 99% of which target women, that these deep fakes are no coincidence, but they are deeply systematic to attack. As in any other field, women's rights are not only human rights, but women's rights are an early warning system for our open. For truth is not a spectator sport. We are not voice, but so is action. Threats or intimidation. For sure, Canada, nor Ukraine or the African Union act together. 4 years ago, Europe watched. Nobody could. EU, which has been described as too slow and bureaucratic, too divided, that it would unite over just a weekend. And on Monday, the EU collectively passed one of the last and purpose. But we should not sugarcoat nor forget that we wouldn't have been able to do it alone. In front of the General Assembly, this is not only about Ukraine, about Europe, but this is about the international peace order, about the Charter of the United. I will also replies. Where have you been when we needed you? And will Europe be there when we make the call? Greenland, it's about Latin America, about Africa. Once again, it's about the international peace order. Once needs Europe. And I count on your answer to be United Nations. Because like the theme of the 80th session of the Secretary General Guterres and I have called on all member states at the beginning of this year to form that cross-regional alliance to protect the EU Commission was in Davos that the EU is ready to step up in this regard, seeing the new trade agreements with Mercosur and security tool. In line with the Paris Climate Agreement, with the potential to create a market with 700 million people. The agreement with and 25% of the global GDP. Combine it with others in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the Middle East. So I applaud the European Commission's announcement of additional funding to the African Continental Free Trade Area, global prosperity, helping to open a market of 1.3 billion people and a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion US investment, an investment into our global peace order. It is an economic lifeline because it's strongly connected. It's up to Europe. It's up to you to be the driver of this cross-regional alliance. And this brings me to the Charter and its principles, but also to reform it, to make it perfect. Over 80 years, there's duplication and too much bureaucracy. And imperfection is an opportunity. And imperfection is an opportunity, failings or setbacks, to use existing inefficiencies or duplications as old responsibilities for world peace. So while I commend the EU and individual European missions in New York for their engagement in our so-called, especially to step up further now, as I also encourage other regional groups to come up with your reform proposals, different UN agencies and strengthening and also to not shy away from the overdue debates on the reform of international financial architecture, not only important for the implementation of this